Hello and welcome to Brainwaves, episode 155, bringing you the best in tabletop gaming news. I'm Ian McAllister.
And my name is Oliver Kinner.
And my name is Jamie Adams. And these are the headlines for the week of Monday the 16th of December, 2024. Has Powerboats been taken for a joyride? Cardboard Edison addresses controversy. And Sandy Petersen wears no mask. All this and more on this episode of Brainwaves.
On November the 26th, Corné van Mersel began a thread on Board Game Geek in the page for Joyride, a board game by Rebellion Unplugged which features cars racing around a track. The initial post detailed Corné's conversation with Rebellion Unplugged staff member Duncan Malloy. Duncan is involved in the board game development side of the business and had expressed interest in Corné's game called Powerboats. Corné starts the thread saying this.
It has all the Powerboats movement rules, except in case of damage, which normally doesn't happen in Powerboats. The last email about the Powerboats contract I got 23rd of September 2019 from Duncan Malloy, with only this text from Duncan.
I think we'll work together very well. Give me a little while, as our lawyer is away right now. I will come back to you with confirmation of the contract as soon as possible.
My own last email to remind Duncan a week later. Hi Duncan, okay, let me know. But no emails anymore from Duncan the last 62 months. And now I get emails from people telling Joyride is Powerboats with some added things. And Duncan's name as author, which is not right.
Corné claimed that Duncan initially approached him about rights to Powerboats via email. He wrote this.
Hi Corné. Duncan Malloy, Head of Board Games at Rebellion Developments. I was wondering you were open to a discussion about the rights to Powerboats/Powerships. I'm a fan of the game and would love to have a chat about it.
Corné wrote that the Joyride movement system was effectively a copy of Powerboats, and the only differences were the change in theme, damage, and powers that the game added. This thread set Board Game Geek ablaze, and lots of people put their oar in, and a heated debate ensued around the difference between copying a design and taking inspiration from one. Duncan Malloy posts in the thread on the 27th of November. He says this.
Corné emailed me last night asking for an explanation, then posted this thread before I had seen his email. As the thread exists, I'm including my reply here in the interest of transparency. I understand the difference between drawing influence from a game and passing off someone else's work as my own. I hope my reputation as someone who has published and developed a great many games from both new and established designers will grant me the benefit of the doubt in that I think most people who play both Powerboats and Joyride will agree that they are different games. I don't intend to be drawn into a public argument about the distinction, and I bear no ill will towards Corné.
Duncan goes on to share that email that includes this.
Before I say anything else, I want to apologise for not communicating further with you after our meeting at Spiel in 2019. It was rude of me not to update you, and I'm genuinely sorry. When I first got in touch in 2019, I'd been at Rebellion for 5 months and was a sole staff member at Rebellion Unplugged. At that point, I was eager to follow the template I'd established at Osprey by signing a mix of reprints and new titles, and I thought both Powerboats and Street Soccer could be a good fit. We chatted back and forth for a few months, mostly waiting for you to supply a contract, as you did not wish to use ours. In September 2019, I sent that contract to our lawyer for review. He told me it was not suitable for our purposes. You and I met in person at Spiel 2019, then nothing else progressed.
The email ends like this.
You do not have a contract or a royalty in this instance because Joyride is not Powerboats, any more than Clank or Legendary is Dominion. It is a new game in the same genre that was influenced by some of your mechanics. I appreciate that this is not what you want to hear, but it is the truth. I'm happy to send you a copy of the game so you can see for yourself. I've not seen the copy of Powerships you sent me in a very long time, but I will track it down and return it to you should you wish. Please send on the best address for either/both.
As the debate raged on, it spilled out onto other social media sites like Blue Sky. Eventually, on December the 5th, Rebellion Unplugged posted to the thread, which was shut down after that post. They said the following, which we are quoting in full.
Since the situation came to light last week, we have investigated the claims made. Our publishing director has been in direct email contact with Corné since Friday, the 29th of November. While there are some similar mechanics, Joyride is a different game to Powerboats with many new and unique rules, which make the gaming experiences very different. Saying Rebellion Unplugged or any individual intentionally copied the Powerboat system is false. Joyride was developed over several years with many games informing the design. We do acknowledge Powerboats as one influence among many, but not in any way to the extent suggested. In the email on November the 29th we sent to Cornet, we made the above clear and told him that we will be including an acknowledgements page in the rulebook for Joyride, which will detail all of the influences behind the game. It will include the games that inspired Joyride, whether mechanically or in setting, theme or gameplay, including Powerboats. This page will be included in future reprints, and we will update the digital edition of the rules. Rebellion apologized several times for the lack of communication Cornet received in 2019. Cornet should have been told in writing at the time that we didn't want to pursue reissuing this game. Members of the board game media have also reached out to us, and we have said the same as here. We recognize the concerns of the community, as we at Rebellion Unplugged are all gamers ourselves and members of this community. Since this thread began, our customers, reviewers, and distribution partners have been contacted, and members of our team have been subject to online harassment. Rebellion will not tolerate harassment in any form. Any and all necessary and relevant steps will be taken in terms of legal considerations.
Duncan Malloy has also recently spoken to Board Game Wire about the situation. He says this about his initial response to Cornet.
In my response to Cornet on November 27th, I drew a comparison between Clank or Legendary and Dominion, which I no longer think is a good analogue. I don't think anyone would argue that Clank and Dominion are the same game, but Dominion is well known as the game that effectively invented deck building, and because of that, Dominion's influence on Clank does not feel like something the designers of Clank are trying to hide. Similarly, I don't think anyone who's played both can reasonably argue that Joyride and Powerboats are the same game, but because Powerboats is less well known than Dominion, its influence is less immediately obvious. That's reason enough to make it explicit.
He goes on to break down the differences in the two designs, and also apologises for the poor job he did in communicating with Cornet. He explains he was the only employee of Rebellion Unplugged at the time, and he was just trying to wear too many hats. He also expresses regret at not crediting Powerboats in the rulebook. He promises that Rebellion Unplugged will change their acknowledgement policy in the future. The games rating has taken a dive on Board Game Geek as folk review bomb it in reaction to what they perceive as the theft of Powerboats by Duncan and Rebellion Unplugged. Geoff Engelstein, designer of Space Cadets and Super Skill Pinball, weighed in recently with a post on his Substack. He says that many people have reached out to him as the president of the recently formed Tabletop Game Designers Association. That organisation will put out an official statement on the matter, but Geoff dives into the legal situation in the States and mulls the plagiarism versus inspiring debate. It's a great piece that we can't really pull a quote from without putting it out of context. We would say the TLDR of the piece is that Rebellion legally did nothing wrong, but morally should have really credited Cornet and his design in the rulebook from the off. This has been a very heated debate with a lot of angry people weighing into something that they didn't really seem to know much about. One thing that I have seen asked for a lot from people who really don't know what they're asking for is more protection for designs under law. I think that is an extraordinarily bad idea. If you start making sure that mechanics can be copyrighted, and there have been many cases where it's been proven that mechanics of games cannot be copyrighted, especially in the States, imagine the power you hand Asmodee or Hasbro by saying my design X is now copyrighted, like the design of Magic the Gathering, for instance, or Dungeons and Dragons, or pick one, basically. You hand them a giant cudgel to hit the board game industry with, and they will, because they'll protect their property, because they'll have to. If you make it a copyright issue, they will have to pursue those things, and that will be incredibly damaging.
You mentioned a heated debate on that Board Game Geek thread. I was following this. It ran up to 37 pages, and a lot of it was a lot of people especially talking about Clank and Dominion, and let's just say it was a lot of going around and not answering a great deal. Yeah,
there was a lot of vitriol thrown out against designers who were like, I can understand, Rebellion's position and that kind of thing, and people also asking if you are a new designer, should you be wary of companies, and that kind of sort of thought comes around every now and again, and I've talked to people in playtest groups as well about this kind of thing as well, because I ran playtest groups myself, and there are literally thousands of games put out every year. How many times have you actually heard about games being stolen? I think I can count them on one hand. It's a vanishingly small actual theft.
We've covered a couple of
Yeah,
cases of things that have like these kind of
definitely.
things over the years. I think it was episode 3 we covered one of them.
Yeah,
A game called Wyrmwood, which was from Betsier Games, I think.
yeah. There's debate there. That was more towards this, where it's influenced by. But I remember covering like some Kickstarter that was a literal direct copy of a game. I think that Kickstarter failed, but I do remember covering one. Can't remember what it was. Like
If you're a long time listener and you remember which one we're talking about, please let us know.
I'll try and dig it out of the archives and put a link to it in the show notes. But yeah, the actual instance of theft is vanishingly small. Most companies are just trying to make good games, and they'll want to like give you a decent contract. There's lots of resources out there. Cardboard Edison, Tabletop Game Designers Association will help you out with this kind of thing. So yeah, do go and ask folk for help.
And also to clarify, it's not that a designer went to a publisher, left the game with them. The publisher turned down the game. The game got never published, but then the publisher came out with a very similar game. In this case, we have actually got 2 games that were published. So it's not like a designer lost out completely on this. I mean, I know that obviously they're now saying that Powerboats may take sales away from Joyride, or whichever side you're on, you might see the other way around. And I think that's where it's obviously more risky. But again, I think when you speak to designers, a lot of them say, look, do talk about your game actually quite early on. The more people know about it, the easier it is for you to prove that you've got the idea before someone else. But as we say, there's no sort of legal way of copywriting. I don't think even the UK mechanisms and things like that. There are certain things you can copyright, and as a whole system, maybe you have a way of protecting that. But yeah, as we say, it's a small number of instances where that happens. I think generally the industry is pretty good. And also one thing I want to point out, obviously, harassment is not tolerated by anyone and should not be part of these discussions. Heated arguments happen, but do not harass people, please.
Yeah, that really ain't on.
No, really. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just grr. To finish off super quick, I have a copy of Joyride, and I found a copy of Powerboats, I found a copy of Powerboats rulebook. And I looked at both of those rulebooks, and you know what? Yes, there is very similar movement things in them, but do you know what else? They're different games. I'm sorry. That sounds really stupid and glib, but I've read them both side by side and gone, yep, I see where the similarities are. Do you know what else I see? Big differences.
Yeah. I am unsurprised. And we just mentioned Cardboard Edison. They're changing tack a little bit for next year's award, Jamie.
Yes, they are. Cardboard Edison, a site with loads of excellent resources for aspiring game designers, from playtest advice to how to pitch to publishers. And every year they hold the Cardboard Edison Awards, designed to highlight new and unpublished games that show promise. It's an award that I think we all at Brainwaves greatly admire for lifting up new voices in the scene. Now, the award is ramping up for its 2025 edition. Now, before that's announced... The award's ramping up for its 2025 edition, and before that's announced, the organisation has some information to share on changes coming to its judging procedure. Now, last year, they ran into some controversy when a game called Crowded Frontier took the top spot. This was a game that had a setting of colonising the American West, and many took umbrage at the promotion of yet another game with a colonisation theme. Now, it seems that Cardboard Edison have taken the criticism on board and decided to do something about the process. They released this on Blue Sky.
We'll be asking our judges to suggest additional people to broaden the judging pool, with the aim of bringing in a wider range of perspectives than we can achieve by relying primarily on our personal view of the industry. We'll be updating the language we use on the award page on our website to note that judges will be paying attention to how each submission handles its theme. In line with the previous point, we have updated the guidance we'll give to judges so they know how to be mindful of these issues when reviewing games for the award. In the first round of the award, we've added a new field to the judging form where judges will be asked to flag any thematic or mechanical concerns they have. We have included a similar field to the judging form for the finalist round to enable judges to flag any thematic concerns that emerge once they've played the game. Finally, before we make a public announcement of the winning games, we'll review any concerns that were flagged earlier in the process and consult with the designer if needed to give them the opportunity to address any issues.
In addition to these changes, they say this.
Beyond the above, it also became clear to us in our conversations that there's a desire out there for more transparency about how the contest is run. Sure, we've written and talked about it in various places before, but we haven't really put it front and center in our communications. So we're releasing an Inside the Cardboard Edison Award article that goes into detail about the process we use for finding judges, promoting the award to the design community, the contest's scoring criteria, what happens at finalist judging events, and more.
We'll put links to all of these in the show notes. Now, as I said, Cardboard Edison Awards, it's something that we've followed avidly for a wee while now. And yeah, there's no point beating around the bush. It fell down last year. The winning design was something we didn't initially question when we absolutely should have. We just kind of read it and accepted it. But it sounds like the organization's taking steps in the right direction, highlighting theme in their internal processes and between the judges. And as we always try to say, there's apologizing and then there's actually making steps to do better. And it looks like Cardboard Edison is doing both, which I think is the best thing, especially the latter.
Yeah, they've laid out a very clear structure there, which they'll introduce into the award, which is really good. So yeah, very pleased with that. And hopefully we'll see some interesting games come out of the award next year.
Yeah, and Cardboard Edison is a great resource, as we said, for designers and all that. So the awards tries to bring, to the fore designers that maybe otherwise wouldn't get a chance to get some, publicity and stuff. So, all good intentions, but of course these days diversity, representation are important issues. So having a game that yet another colonization game, yet another whatever, maybe that's time to look at that in more detail. I mean, there are various other awards that do try and do that specifically, that do look for diverse designers and look at different types of topics and themes and all that. So Cardboard Edison has a bit of competition there, but I think they'll pull through. So
Now, and of course, to be the slight cynic, just to end this, we will have to see how it does this works for the next year of Cardboard Edison Awards. Because it's all very good saying this is a great step forward. If they don't do it, we'll be on them.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a reasonably friendly relationship with the Cardboard Edison Award. They usually send us out sort of press releases and little things ahead of announcements. So yeah, if there are any issues, we'll definitely pull them up on that.
And if you are listening, Cardboard Edison, A, hi, and B, don't mean to be mean, but, we've got to hold the industry to account. So, moving on from holding people to account, Oliver...
holding people to account?
Moving on from holding people to account to holding people to account. Wait, no, it's the exact same thing. Yes, Oliver.
Yeah. Can we hold?
I'm not holding Oliver to account.
No. I think we're holding Sandy Petersen to account. So back in episode 147, we brought you the news that the long-struggling publisher Petersen Games was saved by a deal with Quimbley Games. Petersen Games had been having trouble fulfilling crowdfunding for their Cthulhu Wars series of games, and Quimbley stepped in to help with this, effectively turning Petersen Games into a development studio under the Quimbley Games umbrella. Now, Sandy Petersen is the head of Petersen Games, and recently he took to social media to say the following.
The majority of American school shootings in the last 3 years were all instigated by a trans person.
Sandy Petersen goes on in a separate post on X where he says,
Every time I see someone argue against telling unpleasant truths, I think of this. Our task is not to make an objective study of the truth, ... and then set it before the masses with academic fairness, ... Its task is to serve our own right, always and unflinchingly. Adolf Hitler.
That post also includes a photo of Adolf Hitler smiling. I don't think we have to point it out specifically, but of course what we're quoting here are Sandy Petersen's words. This is not a reflection of what we think, obviously quite to the contrary. And we'll get to that in the discussion. This is literally quoted from social media, and that's what Sandy Petersen had posted. As you can imagine, we contacted Quimbley's for comment on this matter, and we're sent this by Paul Hachette, the president of the company.
Hi, Ian. I'll refer you to our blog post on the subject. The issue has been addressed with him. Sandy has recognised that he was repeating discredited information, and he has deleted the relevant post from his Twitter and posted a retraction and an acknowledgement that he was wrong. He's taking a break from social media for a few months and has committed to avoid talking about political subjects in the future. His actions put Quimbley's Toys and Games in a difficult position. We could either cut ties with Petersen Games, which causes the backers of the Kickstarter games to lose out, or we continue with someone who has tarnished his image with the public. After many discussions, our decision was to forgive and rehabilitate. Sandy at his core is a good person who himself has LGBT children and other extended family, but who has been misinformed by social media. We have some difficult conversations, which frankly many people need to have with their aging parents and loved ones, about the veracity of online information and how the internet is used as a tool for disinformation for political gain. We are choosing to build bridges and to support the amazingly diverse gaming community, and to support the Kickstarter community by publishing the past due games. Thank you, Paul Hallett, President, HC Quimbley's Toys and Games.
We're going to post a link to that blog post they're talking about in the show notes. The original posts have now been taken down, but we'll also share screenshots of them in the show notes as well. Where do we start with this? I think we all know that quoting Adolf Hitler, for whatever purpose, for whatever ends, even if we try and look at this in the most positive way, that Sandy was actually trying to say the opposite of how it came across. I mean, you do not quote a Nazi, basically. And then, especially if you then post a photo of him alongside it, it just, I mean, at the very least, distasteful, if not, I mean, absolutely disgusting, if you ask me personally. Quimbley's response, on the face of it, is obviously positive, that they are responding to it. I'm not quite sure. It sounds to me a bit more like defending Sandy, but I guess they have to sort of try and save face. Personally, I would have distanced myself from Sandy a lot more than they have done here. And they're just, saying, Sandy didn't know what he was talking about. He was just quoting other stuff that he saw on the internet. But if you do that, again, as I say, I don't get the Adolf Hitler piece in the whole thing. To me, that reeks of something completely different.
Yeah, reading between the lines, they've told him to shut up and sit down, basically. And I would not be surprised. I mean, they are in a slightly difficult position, obviously, with like trying to fulfill those Kickstarters from Petersen Games. They've kind of stepped in to do that. I would not be surprised to see them parting ways with Sandy post that happening. Now he's caused this problem for them. Like I think they're a fairly sort of family orientated company in the first place. So that's going to be a hit for them.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah. Also, his claims about transgender students being behind the majority of school shootings. I looked this up. It took me about 5 minutes to discredit that claim.
I think people listening to the podcast will know that this is absolute rubbish, and I hate the word misinformation. It's a lie, obviously. But your point about Quimbley maybe parting ways. I'd say let's hope so. It's just the way this response is phrased. I would have probably distanced myself a bit more in that response if I was Quimbley.
Yeah,
rather than defend him to some degree, and that's what worries me a bit about this. Well, I say a bit. It worries me a lot. But again, as we said earlier, let's wait and see whether they take the action. And this is the end of it. And Sandy was just misinformed. I doubt it. I honestly doubt it.
I mean, he's got some previous forum, as I understand it. I haven't seen them, but from what the chatter on Blue Sky was, that Sandy's got previous forum of like posting stuff that's a bit heinous.
Yes.
So, yeah.
As you said, you hope listeners to the podcast will understand our beliefs on this. And if you don't understand that, well, now you know.
Yeah.
Also, I will say this, when it says in the Quimbley statement, Sandy at his core is a good person who himself has LGBT children and other extended family. Am I wrong? But is that going, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be like this. I've got gay friends and family. And I don't doubt that he has gay friends and LGBT gay friends and family. That is not an excuse.
It's a classic sentence. I'm not racist. I've got black friends. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. It's that, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it's not often you see that. I say sadly. No, it's not often you see that. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you probably know where we stand on this story, and let's hope
nowhere near
last we have Sandy ever again. On to some updates.
A couple of casts ago, in episode 153, we took you through the nominations for the Summit Award that were announced at SD HistCon. SD HistCon is an organisation that aims to create a diverse and supportive gaming community dedicated to historically based board games. They created the Summit Award to recognise games that have brought new players to the hobby or introduced new subjects and perspectives. This year, the award went to Land and Freedom, the Spanish Revolution and Civil War, designed by Alex Knight and published by Blue Panther LLC, with art from Jose Ramon Ferro, Ryman Heilman, and Alex Knight. It is a semi-cooperative game set against the backdrop of the coup in July 1936 that led to the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War. Players take on the roles of leaders of three factions: the anarchists, communists, and moderates. The factions are in an alliance against non-player fascists. Everyone loses if the war is lost, but if the fascists are defeated, the faction with the most glory drawn from a bag that is slowly filled with tokens during the game is the sole winner. The judges praised Land and Freedom for its unconventional design approach, particularly around the semi-cooperative aspect, its novelty of topic, its approachability to those new to historical gaming, and its playability at a range of player counts. Dan Bullock, chair of the Summit Awards Committee, said,
Alex Knight's Land and Freedom is a fresh take on the Spanish Civil War that emphasizes faction squabbles over a Republican versus nationalist approach with a very accessible system.
The other finalists of this year's award also received praise from the judges. They praised the British way for its focus on lesser-gained conflicts, its novel mechanic to tie the different games in the multi-pack together, and its ease of teaching and play, especially for those new to GMT's coin system. Halls of Hegra was commended for its novelty of approach with its bag building and action selection, and its approachability for those used to Euro-style games. We Are Coming Nineveh was commended for its novelty of topic, effectiveness as a historical game, and interesting approach with pre-game capability selection and 3 dimensions of victory to consider. The Summit Award will return in 2025, with games published in 2024 under consideration for that award. A call for public submissions will go out in the spring or summer of 2025. More information can be found on the Summit Award page on the SD HistCon website, a link to which you'll find in the show notes. Alongside the Summit Award, SD HistCon also announced the Bobby Nunes Memorial Award in memory of Robert Bobby Factor Nunes, who was central to the recent growth of SD HistCon and hugely popular in historical gaming circles. He died of cancer in March of this year. The award recognises exceptional gaming media, which includes videos, podcasts, episodes, written articles, etc., that reflect Nunes' enthusiasm for and interest in discussing important cultural issues within the historical gaming hobby. After receiving nominations from the public, the board chose the following 4 finalists. Amabel Holland's intriguing video essays on YouTube that challenge commonly held ideas in gaming. Holland is a designer of games such as Doubtless Our Product, The Guilty Land, and owns and runs publisher Holland Spiel. Liz Davidson's YouTube show / podcast Beyond Solitaire, in which her interviews cover a wide range of historical gaming topics in discussion, from the representation of race and sexual orientation in games to approaches to game journalism and conversations around specific games. Dan Thoreau's website Space Biff was recognised as one of the foremost destinations for board game reviews in the historical space and beyond, as well as insightful essays on different topics in the hobby. And We Intend to Move on Your Works is an ongoing series that is a spin-off of Fred Serral's Homo Ludens podcast and YouTube channel, featuring Stuart Ellis Gorman and Pierre Wagner-Jones, discussing American Civil War games with one of the hosts, Fred Serval or Alexandra Fontaine-Rousseau. The winner of the inaugural award will be announced at Conflicts of Interest Online and on SD HistCon's social media platforms before the end of the year. Now, the Summit Award is always interesting and it helps to bring historical games to a wider audience. Alongside the Zenobia Award, we really like it for in that space for like actually bringing new perspectives and encouraging people to look at war games from a different perspective and historical gaming in general. The Bobby Nunes Memorial Award's a new one to us. It does sound really good. It's recognized a lot of people I really, really respect. I love Dan Thoreau. He's one of the best writers in the board game world. Writes extremely well about board games. Amabel Holland makes some fantastically interesting sounding games. I really want to get my hands on some of those eventually. Liz Davidson, I listen to Beyond Solitaire from time to time. She's a great interviewer, fantastic. The only one I didn't really know was We Intend to Move on Your Works. Probably not one I'm going to dive into because it's not a topic I'm particularly interested in. But if they're highlighting it alongside those 3, then yeah, I'm sure it's worthy of that award. Some really great nominations there. Best of luck to all involved.
Yeah. It sounds really good. I'm also really interested to try Land and Freedom, the winner of the Summit Award. An interesting way to try, and again, as you said, look at the factionalism behind the Spanish Civil War.
Brings history to life. That's the idea.
Now, Jamie, a little update from Worms.
Not the Team 17 creatures that was, some varying video games. No. Wyrmwood. Back in episodes 116 and 118, we covered accusations of sexual assault at the game table manufacturer Wyrmwood. The company recently fired around half its workforce 2 weeks before Christmas. Once more, they did it on camera in their ongoing series, Wyrm Life. That's Wyrmlyfe, that covers the behind-the-scenes life of the company. Now, we're not going to go into the details on this one, but we were going to point Naylor. Now, we're not going to go into the details on this one, but we are going to point you towards Rascal, who have covered this story in some detail after Lynn Codega and Thomas Manuel investigated the company. Now, the Rascal story is behind a paywall, but we urge you to support them as they are doing excellent work. In fact, Lynn Codega even, what do you even say, tweeted on Blue Sky? Posted on Blue Sky.
Tweeted, I don't know what the actual word is, but yeah, posted on Blue Sky.
Posted on Blue Sky. I can't believe Wyrmwood is bringing me out of retirement.
Yeah, I've read the whole story. It is definitely a worthwhile read. I haven't watched the videos because I can't quite bring myself to it. But yeah, it's kind of absolutely shocking behavior. They basically fire people live on camera, and then basically kind of make a joke of it.
Yeah.
I've got words that I could have used several stories ago about some other individuals, and I'm going to also use them for here, but I'm not actually going to say them. I'm just going to think them very loudly.
Yeah.
I watched the video, and you keep thinking this must be a spoof or something. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I watched the videos for the original sexual assault allegation stuff when they were like doing the HR stuff live on camera. And it was like, is this real? Like, yeah, you, through all the time you're like, is this a spoof? What's going on? Yeah, it's unreal. Anyway, do go and support Rascal. I personally support Rascal as a subscriber, and they're doing some excellent journalistic work, like proper journalistic work in the board game and role-playing game space. So do please go and check them out and support them if you can. It's not very expensive. It's only a few quid a month. So yeah, do go and check them out if you can, please. Let's move on to some news now, gents.
At the start of this year, we brought you the news that publisher Fort Circle Games had ads pulled by Facebook over its game Votes for Women. Votes for Women details the struggle faced by women to secure the vote in the United States. The ban was apparently over the game's sensitive social issues. Well, it happened again. This time it is for their game first Monday in October about how the Supreme Court is decided. Fort Circle posted to Blue Sky on the 28th of November this.
After running our ads for 2 days, Facebook has pulled them just like with our campaign for Votes for Women. It's like a digital advertising Groundhog Day.
Board Game Wire reported on the takedown speaking to Kevin Bertram, founder of Fort Circle Games. He said this.
Facebook's ad bans do not pose an existential risk to the company, but they do pose an existential risk to our ability to publish games that intersect with the history of the United States and its political system. When Facebook banned our ads during the Votes for Women Kickstarter campaign, we were thrilled how the community rallied to the campaign. But now we have Votes for Women in stock, and we still cannot run Facebook ads for the game. For this to happen again would be amusing if it wasn't so harmful to our company's prospects. For this campaign, we allocated $25,000 for Facebook ads, and the very early numbers, before the ads were taken down by Facebook, suggested we would raise $100,000 from those ads.
Bertram also said he was reluctant to try more ads on the platform. The developer of the game, Jason Matthews, was also interviewed by Board Game Wire and said this.
I mean, it's just incredible. But it is the perfect illustration of a soulless, lifeless corporation making decisions by algorithm. As for my reaction, what can you say about stupid? Is Mark Zuckerberg really so broke that Meta can't afford to put a human in its decision loops? Is censorship by AI the kind of future we can all look forward to? Fort Circle is a little independent game company trying to expose Americans to their history through games. It's literally mom and apple pie. To have Meta reject that on Thanksgiving morning pretty much tells you all you need to know.
The designer Talia Rosen said she was surprised and disappointed at the ban for her game, but had been delighted at the response to the crowdfunding campaign. The campaign for the game runs to December the 21st. Kevin Bertram is a patron of this cast, and Ian has reviewed Votes for Women, so has I. But Ian received a viewer copy, which I didn't. Just to point out our, obviously, connections to this, in case you think you're biased there. So yeah, censorship by our algorithm. Obviously, we've seen that before. As pointed out, the problem is, these things happen, but that's why you can sort of flag that to the company and then they can overrule the bot. But sounds like this isn't possible here. So it's ridiculous just because there's some sort of topic being covered that is political. But it's a game. We're not talking about this is a political ad specifically. So yeah. What can we say? Outrageous.
Indeed. Talking about takedowns, Indie game site itch.io was recently taken offline by none other than Funko, the maker of plastic toys and for a while some of the best franchise board games in existence. Funko partnered with a company called Brand Shield, which describes itself as
AI-powered online anti-counterfeiting solution that monitors for trademark infringements, phishing attempts, brand abuse, and counterfeit activity.
This piece of software sent a takedown request to itch.io's domain registrar, I Want My Name. Itch.io owner Leif Corcoran wrote to gaming site Polygon to detail the interaction.
5 days ago, I immediately responded in email to I Want My Name's original abuse notice confirming the removal of the content. No communication after that. I had to proactively message them all the time the domain was taken down to try to get them to respond as well. They didn't even send a notice that the domain was taken down with the reason why. I attached a support thread I opened when the domain went down, where they later confirmed the abuse notification was the reason, claiming they got no response and my response. Other than the original abuse notification email and this support thread I opened, there was no other communication from them. No, we haven't heard from you, we're about to shut your domain down, or anything like that. About 5 days elapsed since the original notification to when the domain was disabled. I also put some more info about the whole timeline on Hacker News,
which we'll put a link to in the show notes. Funko also contacted Polygon.
At Funko, we hold a deep respect and appreciation for indie games, indie gamers, and indie developers. We're fans of fans, and we love the creativity and passion that define the indie gaming community. Recently, one of our brand protection partners identified a page on itch.io imitating the Funko Fusion Development website. A takedown request was issued to address this specific page. Funko did not request a takedown of the itch.io platform, and we're happy the site was back up by this morning. We have reached out to itch.io to engage with them on this issue, and we deeply appreciate the understanding of the gaming community as the details are determined. Thank you for sharing in our passion for creativity.
We would like to remind readers that Funko's deep respect for games recently saw them selling off their game development studio and laying off all the staff involved. Leif Corcoran also posted a screenshot of a conversation with his mother that read,
Got a strange call from the company about accusatory statements on your social media account. Call me.
The company in question was, of course, Funko.
Wow.
Funko's bringing the mothers into this.
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, can I just say that brand protection partner is like one of the most cyberpunk phrases I think I've ever seen. Just horrible. Just like horrible corporate speak. Just blah. Just do not like it at all. And
I think my problem with it is the AI-powered online anti-counterfeiting solution. I think the clue's in AI.
So it turns out that all the AI stuff that they're trying to sell us is rubbish. Who knew?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely terrible.
Ugh.
Anyway, Jamie, let's move on to some homegrown news.
Yes. Games Workshop, the tabletop miniatures model manufacturer known for games such as Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000, has been promoted to the FTSE 100. The publicly listed company has been trading on the London Stock Exchange since 1994. Now, they first entered the FTSE 250 in 2018, and with its share price quadrupling since the start of 2019 and rising by 43% since the start of 2024, it is now valued at £4.6 billion, which was enough to make it eligible to upgrade to the FTSE 100. The FTSE 250 and 100 are respectively the top 250 and 100 companies with the highest stock values listed in the London Stock Exchange. Now, by entering the FTSE 100, Games Workshop will be traded alongside companies such as Coca-Cola, Marks & Spencer's, Rolls-Royce Holdings, and Tesco. Now, the uplift into the FTSE 100 and the confidence by investors in the company's future may not come as a surprise if you are more au fait with Games Workshop and consider that a pack of 10 mounted Chaos Knights will set you back £52.50. And the Ultimate Starter Set for its Age of Sigmar game costs £130. Now, that's underlined by the company's announcement last month that pre-tax profits are expected to rise by 25% for the last 6 months to at least £120 million, while licensing revenue is expected to more than double to £30 million or more. So the boom time that Games Workshop started during the COVID-19 pandemic has continued to skyrocket.
Yeah, and it sounds like licensing is going to be a big part of that. I know that the Amazon deal that we reported on a few casts ago has kind of been properly put down in ink now. So there is a 40K series coming with Henry Cavill at the helm to Amazon Prime at some point, but that is actually happening now rather than just being sort of talked about or whispers in darkened rooms, that they've actually penned a deal.
After many months of discussion and a lot of people hearing nothing and assuming it was just a dead deal, within the last 2 days, they just made an announcement going, still going on, we're doing it soon.
Yeah, and obviously we've seen like the new Space Marine computer game out recently and things like that. So like they're obviously making a bunch of money from their licensing. They had a tie-in with Magic the Gathering, for instance, for all the sort of Horizon stuff that Magic's been doing with like Lord of the Rings and Marvel and people like that. Games Workshop was a part of that as well. So yeah, big companies to continue to grow and taking a new step into the FTSE 100. Quite incredible, really.
I would like to sum it up as plastic sells.
It really does.
Yep. Lots and lots of minis.
Speaking of selling, well, not plastic in this case, Shut Up and Sit Down, one of the world...
Ooh, Ian. Yeah. The views of Ian McAllister do not necessarily represent the opinions of the Giant Brain or Brainwaves. Actually, it doesn't represent Brainwaves, but Giant Brain, well, that's Ian, so I wonder what he said.
Shut Up and Sit Down, one of the world's premier board game review sites, has announced a collaboration with publisher Play to Z, or Play to Z, if you're British. Play to Z was founded by Zev Schlesinger after leaving Z-Man Games in 2016, because they're American Z-Man Games. The company has yet to produce any games, but has several forthcoming titles for 2025. These will now include 2 titles with the Shut Up and Sit Down Presents logo on them. From the press release on Play to Z's site,
Shut Up and Sit Down Presents is a brand new line of titles that places a spotlight on some of the best titles in modern board games. Shut Up and Sit Down will hand select existing designs, polish them to perfection, and P2Z will publish these incredible games for worldwide distribution.
One of these games is a new title from Matt Leacock called Animal Rescue. This will come to crowdfunding in early 2025, with an aim to have it in retail by October of the same year. The second is a reprint of Paolo Mori's Dogs of War. This is a game that has been out of print for a long time. It should be in retail by the end of 2025 with no mention of a crowdfunding campaign. So a independent reviewers website now is no longer independent? Is that how I read the news correctly?
Yeah, it's a really weird one. It sounds like they're going to be developing some games. Like I could understand a little bit if they were like collaborating with this company and like saying, hey, we'd like to see you reprint some of these older titles. I could sort of understand that. The fact that one of them's like a completely new title is really weird, I think.
Yeah.
Because they're going to help develop it and stuff as well. It's like...
Are you thinking more former in a way like the Dice Tower Essentials line, which was, I think it was mostly reprints, but there were a couple of new games? I don't know. Don't quote me.
It's when they get involved in new stuff. That's when lines really start to blur. If they should ever, I hope they never review these games post this collaboration, because that would be like a massive ethical no-no. I really respect Shut Up and Sit Down. I think they've done some. I honestly think they've done better since Quinn's left. I think they've had a good run of videos, and like Tom's review of John Company was fantastic, for instance, and they've had some really good stuff recently as well. But yeah, this does feel like blurring the line between reviewing and publisher, and that is some ethically tricky ground.
I mean, they did monikers a long time ago, several years ago.
Yeah, they've done some monikers development as well. Yeah, so they've got some form here. But I don't have they ever. Yeah, I don't think they've ever reviewed their particular expansion for monikers, but they were enthusiastic about it before then. Presumably that led to the collaboration. Who knows?
But it's a bit weird that they not. I mean, putting a reviewer putting like their name on a box, recommended by, I could sort of see, but this is a whole other level, which seems a bit bizarre. Anyway, talking about collaborations, I think got some news from Hachette and Edition Spielwiese, Jamie.
I'm not going to pronounce that anywhere near as well as you can, but I'll give it my best if that's okay. Hachette Board Games Group has announced they have secured a new distribution deal with Edition Spielwiese. How is that?
Edition Spielwiese.
Edition Spielwiese. Thank you. Are the publishers behind the Spiel des Jahres winner Micro Macro, among other titles. The collaboration will see a bunch of new Micro Macro titles coming to market, starting with a jigsaw version of the game. The rest of the line will come under Hachette's distribution in the second half of 2025. It'll also see titles like Quacks of Quedlinburg, The Mind, and Wavelength be distributed through Hachette. Michael Schmidt, founder of Edition Spielwiese, said,
After working with Hachette's subsidiary BlackRock as my international partner in France, I am now even more pleased to become a bigger part of the Hachette family.
Rob Trounce, marketing manager for Hachette Board Games UK, said,
Edition Spielwiese are a publisher of the highest caliber, and we are beyond proud to have them and their amazing titles join our catalogue of family-friendly games for UK audiences. Our mission is to get more games on UK tables. Edition Spielwiese's amazing titles will make that goal ever more achievable.
Thank you very much to Rob Trounce for sending us the press release for this announcement. The reason I'm doing this is Ian and Oliver have both reviewed games supplied by Hachette, so I'm the one apparently with the cleanest conscience, so I can talk about this. Let's say that. They talk. Michael Schmidt talks about Hachette subsidiary BlackRock. I mean, I'm assuming that's not, you know, the multinational investment company BlackRock.
Probably not. No.
No, I think it's a different. Yeah, I don't think Hachette are secretly like rulers of the world.
That's fine. It's just because it's written in this release the same way that BlackRock, the, let's say, infamous investment company, is written. So just a little panic for a second.
I think that's a different BlackRock.
It's just great to see Hachette obviously going from strength to strength. I think we said in the last article, more publishers being worked together with and, you know, collaborating with and bringing more games to the UK market. It's just all good for the hobby, and seeing the growth there. I'm in full on support. Under the proviso that we've reviewed games from Hachette, so take it with a pinch of salt if you want.
Yeah, we like to put in these provisos in the cast just to make it clear our relationship with any companies that we're talking about.
Talking about links, Ian, a link is broken. You know what happens when links break?
You get 3 strikes and you're out.
3 strikes and you're out, baby.
That was one of the worst links I think we've ever done. Congratulations.
Do not tempt me. I will.
Say, we can find a worse one.
There's still like 2 weeks of the year left.
We're not recording again after this one, though, so it's fine.
Oh no, but I'll send you. No, but Ian, I'll send you audio files of just random links.
James is going to make links.
Workers at Acrylicos Vallejo have recently gone on partial indefinite strike. This means that each worker is striking for 2 hours each shift they are working. Vallejo paints are extremely popular amongst the miniatures making community, and the strike is partially in reaction to the profits the company is now making that its workers are not seeing enough of. The strike is supported by the Spanish Trade Union Federation, the CGT, and 98% of the Acrylicos Vallejo workforce. In a video posted to the CGT's YouTube channel, the following statement was given thanks to Victor Gondra, who translated this piece for Rascal News.
Today we started an indefinite strike at Acrylicos Vallejo. Today we have decided to say enough for 3 very important points. 1, the bad working conditions, the danger that the workers suffer in terms of facilities and machinery. 2, we ask for a wage increase since the gap between managers and workers is abysmal, and we are going through a precarious salary situation in our lives. We are asking for 15%, and the company has said no to all negotiations. 3, on the other hand, we are asking for an active harassment protocol to protect us, and that works properly. That is why we are here, and until the company decides to sit down with us to negotiate, we will not stop demonstrating, and we will continue in the struggle.
The strikers have asked for support from the sort of miniature painting community, but as of this time have not made any specific requests. Some miniature painters have spoken out about the protests and strikes at the Vallejo factory. Just pay people. It's not very hard, folks. Just actually pay people if you're making profits.
Yeah, but they will have less. But people will have less money, and if people get more money, then that's
investors will have less money, I guess. Yeah.
And that way, Ian, lies anarchism, and dare I say it, socialism. And Spain's had a problem with socialism. Don't you know that, Ian?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and we want trickle down
for sure.
We want trickle down economy as well. That's how it works. Give money to the rich because they keep it? No, something like that.
I mean, okay, I'll say this: if they're so worried about it, why don't they just give people more money? I mean, if it'll trickle back to them, they can pull themselves up by the bootstraps they've already made money on. Surely,
I don't think that's how it works, according to their anyway.
Ian, that works. Why wouldn't it work? It's economics. It's the free market. That's what's going to happen.
Competition.
Yeah, something like that. Just like to make you aware, folks, that we pulled this story from a site where we basically did a Google Translate on the site, and also from Rascal. This is one of Rascal's public-facing articles, so we felt comfortable reporting on it, though. So you can see it for free. You do have to sign up for a free account to Rascal, but it's free. So yeah, you can go look at it. Let's move on to some jobs opportunities event.
Yeah, as always at this point in the cast, we want to point you to the Facebook group Tabletop Jobs, where you can find jobs in the UK, US, and probably around the world. Have a look there. There's always something on there, very interesting jobs. We also want to talk about the Spiel des Jahres funding program for 2025. Spiel des Jahres, the German Board Game Association, announced on the 2nd of December that it has opened up its 2025 funding program for applications. The program was open to associations, public institutions, foundations, and organizations that further its goal of enhancing the visibility of board games as a cultural asset in society. The program started back in 2012 and has since then supported over 800 projects with nearly 790,000 euros. In 2024 alone, 85 projects received 97,000 euros in financial support. Additionally, the Spiel des Jahres Association funds positions for researchers at the University of Constance, activities related to many of Nuremberg's museums, and the German Young Game Designer Scholarship. The submission deadline for the 2025 funding program will be announced later in the year. Eligible applicants need to provide a project plan, including a timeline and objectives, as well as a cost breakdown. Applications may only be submitted for new projects. Funding covers the purchases of board games, compensation for volunteer activities and fees, as well as some other expenses detailed on the application page. The outcome of projects will be shared in a written report accompanied by photos that will be published on the Spiel des Jahres website. For further information, please follow the link in the show notes. Yeah, so it's great to see again that Spiel des Jahres isn't just the annual award that we all know about, but they're obviously, as an association, doing lots of stuff for the hobby in the German-speaking area. Anyway, I don't know whether these applications are for German or German-speaking countries only, so that probably include Austria and Switzerland, or whether it's a global one. I couldn't quite work that out, but I assume it'll probably be focused on German-speaking ones.
We'd just like to take a moment to shout out to all our patrons, especially our executive producers, Kevin Bertram from Fort Circle Games, James Naylor from Naylor Games, and Shaun Newman from the Game & Lot team. Thank you for continuing to support us at that level. You can join them for just $1 a month on our Patreon. It really helps us sort of keep the lights on of the cast and the site. And there are various other ways to support us on the site, which you can find us from our Support Us page. It's on the front page of the website. Jamie, I believe there's a taxi outside for you.
Before I get that taxi, I've got to do the outro, though. It is the final episode of the calendar year, so Ian, Oliver, and I were thinking, what could we give you listeners as a gift? You know, it could be our favourite outro games of this year. And then I overrode all of that and thought, we'll give you a last-minute gift idea for your dear one, somebody who you have, you know, ambivalent toward, someone you hate. I don't know, just a gift idea. The masses, you hear them. The masses have been crying out for an expansion for arguably the most popular board game of the 20th century. And in 2009, Hasbro acquiesced. I was a little bit late, but, you know, a little gift for you. Monopoly Free Parking, the Toppling taxi game, can be played either as its own mini game, or you can add it to a standard Monopoly board. It comes with 20 taxis, a custom D8, and a wobbly board. How it's wobbly? I don't know. If you add it to your game of Monopoly, if you land on free parking, you roll the D8, and if it comes up with a colour on it, you put one of the taxis in that coloured space on the wobbly board. If you're playing it with Monopoly, you only use 5 taxis instead of 20. If the D8 comes up a question mark, you place it in any space. And you can keep going until you either topple any taxis from the wobbly board, if you roll a police officer on the dice, or you keep 5 cars on the wobbly board without any of them falling off. If any fall off or you roll a police officer, your turn is over. If you keep 5 cars on the board, you win that mini game and you get a free taxi ride to any space on the board and then do it as normal. Yeah, exactly. I mean, who doesn't want a little dexterity to add to Monopoly?
I mean, I think it'd be funnier if the entire Monopoly board was wobbly.
It's like that, yeah.
You know what, Ian? I'm going to let you pitch that to Hasbro or USAopoly. If you do it as a standalone game, it's 20 taxis divided by 4 players, and the first person to get rid of all their taxis on the wobbly board wins. Run, don't walk to get this. I honestly don't know if it's still available. Hold on. Just doing a little bit of eBay Googling here. There is 2 copies available. One is about £21, and the is is about £11 or £12, and that's including... Oh, no, wait.
Plus shipping.
17. Yeah, plus shipping. One of them from the United States is not £21. It's 17, 18 plus, about £28. One is shipping from the UK. So
I mean, that's worth just for the 20 taxis. That's
yeah, exactly. You know.
That was a terrible gift.
Hey,
well, on that note, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Sorry.
We'd just like to thank everyone for continuing to listen to Brainwaves over the course of the last year, and we'll want to wish you and your loved ones a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year when it comes. This will be our last cast of 2024, and we'll be back in January of 2025 to bring you all the latest tabletop news as we have done over the last few years. Thanks very much, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.